My name is Antoni Bonetti. I'm the founding conductor of Brisbane Symphony Orchestra, and that was a while ago, in 1990. We initially named the orchestra Brisbane Sinfonia, and about the turn of the century we were able to get hold of the name Brisbane Symphony Orchestra. I believe we've done over close on 200 concerts over this whole entire period, and it was supposed to happen last year, but it didn't because of COVID, that I was officially going to step down, and we have appointed a new chief conductor. I will still be conducting Brisbane Symphony, one concert a year, but the role of chief conductor I'm stepping down from. Earlier this year I was rather overwhelmed when I was given a nomination from the Australian government, that being Order of Australia, the AM. And as I said, I was quite overwhelmed with that, and it does reflect the amount of work that I've put into the orchestra, and also in my time when I was at St Peter's Lutheran College as the head of orchestral studies.
What was it that inspired you to found the Brisbane Symphony Orchestra?
During my time in Europe, when my wife and I were studying and playing and touring around various countries for a period of 7 years, I developed an interest, a passion for conducting. Now, I had no proper training, I should say, as I went through the Sydney Conservatorium, but I was playing in the new Philharmonia Orchestra, and the young conductor then, Riccardo Muti, I was blown away by his knowledge and craft as a conductor, and that spurred me on to develop further. It wasn't until I had finished working as a concertmaster with the Queensland Theatre Orchestra under the directorship of Georg Tintner in the early 80s, when I went off to St Peter's Lutheran College, that I started then developing more of my conductor. I was fortunate enough to be the conductor of the Concert Society Orchestra. Now, at some point, I then formed Brisbane Symphony, or Brisbane Sinfonia, I should say, in 1990. And that was, the first concert was really quite a memorable concert. We were doing some work with a choir, doing some Vivaldi, and also a piano concerto of Mendelssohn with the young Carson Dron.
What have you found has changed about the orchestra over the past 30 years?
Brisbane Sinfonia, as it was called in 1990, was very young. It still is. And it was quite small. I would say that when it first got running, we had a double woodwind section, enough brass, percussion, timpani, but a little light on the strings. I think there might have been 6 first violins, a good viola section, and 6 or 8 cellos. Here we are in 2021, and we can easily mount a concert that could require quadruple woodwind, brass, sometimes even double brass, a myriad of percussion, which we will be using for this world premiere performance of Elena Katz-Chernin, the work that requires an enormous orchestra. You'll see that reflected in that. And of course the strings now, we usually have 10, 12, 15 first violins. I forgot to count the last time with the cellos, but it was something even more than that. So it's a huge orchestra. We only just managed to fit on our rehearsal space at the old museum. So it is really wonderful to see that over those 30-year period, The orchestra has grown into what could be quite, we perform of professional standards. And that's very pleasing to think that after that period, here we are.
If you had to decide, out of all of the programs that you've done with the BSO, what would your 3 favourite programs be?
Well, it's very hard to decide on all of the programs that we've performed. As I said earlier, we've performed over 200 concerts. But of perhaps the 3 memorable, not in any particular order, I would have to start with the performance that we did in City Hall that marked the opening, the opening of City Hall, because it was refurbished. It happened to coincide with the 4MBS classical season that they have. It also happened to fit into Italian week, so there was a whole heap of Ferraris parked out the front, and we performed Verdi's Requiem and the overture La Forza del Destino. Now, it blew me away, and it blew quite a number of the orchestra away. The City Hall was not packed, it was jam-packed. It was just totally full. And the performance, it still gives me, what's the expression, goosebumps, of the standard of the orchestra that we rose to the occasion for that work in City Hall. Another performance was when we worked with the soprano from Toowoomba, Melinda van der Meulen, and we performed the Strauss last 4 songs, with also a work of Debussy, Brahms' 3rd Symphony, and we performed those twice, as we often do. We go out of town to perform not only our concerts in Brisbane, but also out of town. And on this occasion we went to Toowoomba, into the Empire Theatre, which I believe that was recently renovated as well too. That was a wonderful program, and I won't forget that for quite some time. Perhaps the other one where we have gone back into City Hall for performances. In 2019, we performed the work of Carl Jenkins, The Armed Man, with choir and orchestra, and that's again quite a big orchestra in City Hall, and it funnily fitted in the exact date of the anniversary for Armistice Day, and that on the Sunday afternoon. Again, a wonderful, memorable performance.
There's definitely been some really exciting performances over the past 30 years. What about the next 30 years? Where do you see the BSO going in the future?
So here we are in 30 years with a full-size symphony orchestra, and that we can take quadruple woodwind and multi-strings. And I think in the years to come we've performed works of Shostakovich, of Mahler, all of these big repertoire works. I think the orchestra could go anywhere now these days with sufficient preparation, and the new chief conductor, Paul Dean, has the talent to be able to do that.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the members, audiences or families of BSO who have been there supporting the orchestra over the past 30 years?
So I've been very honoured to be able to conduct this orchestra over the past 30 years, but perhaps more importantly is the support that we have received of myself and also of the orchestra from the audiences and close colleagues to be able to get to the orchestra to this level of achievement. I know I'm going to miss this. Thank you for listening to me, and I certainly look forward to seeing you at our concerts. Thank you.